North of the border to our good dictator up there, Justin Trudeau. His government, Justin Trudeau's government, is doing it again, clamping down on personal freedoms, and now they are fast-tracking their big censorship bill. So here's how the CBC News put it. They put it this, and they said that Liberals attempt to rush through Canada's draconian online streaming bill that hurts indie voices. Now, this is Reclaim the Net that published this. Independent creators will be suppressed in order to boost mainstream broadcasters. Now, if you don't think that this will seriously curtail free speech, you're dead wrong. Here's how the CBC puts it in their headline. Take a look at this. Your free speech is at risk with Ottawa's push to regulate online content, experts warn. So let's go deeper on this. Now, Professor Michael Geist is one of the better critical thinkers on this subject. He's a lawyer in Canada. He just wrote a great piece on his blog. Here's Professor Michael Geist. Let me pull this up here. Oh, yeah, there it is. And what he says is, so let's kind of go through this. So basically, they're rushing through this censorship bill, and they had a vote on it. I watched some of the debate yesterday in the committee, and it was really stunning, because what they did was with roughly 170 amendments proposed by 5 parties, there was only time for a fraction of the amendments to be reviewed. Instead, once the government-imposed deadline arrived at 9 p.m., the committee moved to voting on the remaining proposed amendments without any debate, discussion, questions for department officials, or public disclosure of what was even being voted on. Does that sound a lot like the United States? When we try to we rush stuff through so no one can read it, no one sees what's in it. There's no debate on it at all.
Here's a 6,000-page bill, and we're going to vote on it in the morning.
Yeah, we don't have any idea what's in it. The voting ran past midnight, with the public left with little idea of what was in or out of the bill. The updated bill will be posted in the next day or so. Oh, good. And then Michael Geist goes on to say, this sham process notably excluded debate on many of the proposed amendments on regulating user content. The issue arose about 30 minutes before the 9 p.m. deadline, resulting in some discussion on a Green Party amendment to clearly remove user-generated content from the bill. That debate, though, was cut short, where the chair moved directly to voting on amendments. So think about this. Creators in Canada, right? This is what's going to happen. Just imagine the front page of YouTube. For all of you that use YouTube and you log into YouTube, and because you watch certain videos, you've created your own sort of algorithm within YouTube, right? Content is suggested to you based on you, right? It's YouTube. And so that's how the algorithm works. Now, if Canada gets its way and Justin Trudeau's government gets its way, what you will see when you log into YouTube is whatever content they want you to see, and sort of no personal curation of social media content. And it's absolutely terrifying. This is this is the slippery slope that we've been hearing about from some leaders, right? This idea that democracy is slipping away from us. Where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, I've heard it from this guy.
We've come to a moment that, quite frankly, we've seen coming over the past years. And we've talked about it in the news, not just about Ukraine, but about democracies around the world, that we see a bit of a slippage in our democracies. Countries turning towards slightly more authoritarian leaders. Countries allowing increasing misinformation and disinformation to be shared on social media, turning people against the values and the principles of democracy.
He just contradicted himself.
Yeah, exactly.
He literally just contradicted himself in that same exact sentence.
Right. A bit of a slippage. We've seen this, frankly. Where are we seeing this? Describe the contradiction.
Well, so he's saying that, democracy is at risk, and the freedom and all that is at risk, and disinformation is being spread. It's like, wait a minute. You're talking about freedom and democracy, yet that doesn't, free speech is a big proponent of that, and you're just calling for limited free speech.
Right. Yeah, only what the government allows you to hear, allows you to see. So I want to
which
go
is
back.
authoritarian.
So I want to go back to this Michael Geist law post out of Canada. The Liberal government was elected on a platform that emphasized good governance, transparency, and consultation. This hearing was a firm rejection of those principles. The meeting was chaired by Liberal MP Hedy Fry via video. No serious government would treat its legislation to review presided over by Ms. Fry in a hybrid format. She was frequently confused, rarely knew who was speaking, often spoken while on mute, and required multiple suspensions to get advice from the committee clerk. This is how they're passing like internet censorship regulation in Canada. They literally have no freaking clue what they're doing. And Justin Trudeau is pushing this through and speedily, hoping that no one will notice. We saw what they did during the trucker convoy. We saw what they did to censor speech during the trucker convoy. We saw what they did by taking down posts on social media in Canada. We saw what they did taking people's bank accounts. So you want to talk about slippage? But the betrayal of...
How is this like... I'm so curious how this has become so global. Like, how are so many governments getting on board with this same thing? Like, it seems like it honestly seems like when the pandemic started, that this is the slope that was created, and it's like all of a sudden the world leaders converged, and now they're on they have the same agenda. I mean, doesn't it feel like that to you?
It does, because it's true. And I've covered it here on the show in some videos I've released recently on the World Economic Forum and the WEF. Look, when BlackRock went and handed the Federal Reserve their plan on the Great Reset, the going direct Great Reset, they had a plan. They knew that by doing this and voting on this and having this discussion at the World Economic Forum and all of those people at Davos, they literally signed it, they planned it, it was in their meeting notes, that we are going to put 500,000 people out of work. We're going to lock down. We are going to consolidate power. We are going to move towards a digital currency. We are going to, all of the big tech oligarchs are part of this discussion, right? All of the billionaires.
Right, but when they talk about that consolidation of power, who's getting that consolidate? Where is that consolidation of power going to? All the world leaders, or is there a group of leaders above those leaders that's the power? Like, where is the power?
It's the globalists. It's the people. It's the unelected globalists. It's the Klaus Schwabs. It's the Larry Finks. It's the Bill Gateses of the world. It's all of those people that are unelected. I know this sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's in their meeting and it actually happened. Like, they're telling us right to our face exactly what's happening. So I know it's like, you could say this at a dinner party and people might look at you like, he's one of those guys that believes like all of these billionaires are running the show. Did you see Bill Gates at Davos? Literally hand everyone his next plan for the pandemic. They literally were having a meeting in August of 2019 about COVID 4 months before any person in the world heard about COVID. How are they having a meeting about it before we even hear about it? Explain that one to me. So I know it sounds conspiratorial, but it's freaking true. And so what do they want? They want to take away property rights. They want a consolidation of power. One of the big things that Catherine Austin Fitts writes about, who used to work at HUD, she got fired because she stood up to this in the government. She talks about property, and she talks about the electric grid and why they want to take over the electric grid. Because why they want consolidation of the electric grid? Because of power, of electricity, and of digital currency. That's why they want to control that. They also want to take away personal property rights. Well,
and also think about that. Think about it. How BlackRock buying up all this real estate and all of these things plays right into that hand.
And Bill Gates buying up all of the farmland in the United States. So again, why is Bill Gates owning every piece of every available farmland in the United States? Well, you tell me. Why is a guy who literally was hanging out on whose island able to literally be invited to Davos and to hand his pandemic preparedness plan in place? Just ask yourself these questions. I mean, it's crazy, but it's happening. So there's a reason that this is happening globally. It's a reason that all these people get together at Davos and Bilderberg in Washington, and then these things are implemented later. Like those like public meetings are just sort of public. All the real meetings happen behind closed doors. And all of these things are unfolding right now. And we're heading really into phase 2 of this. And the World Economic Forum, it's really, really troubling. And again, we see this with the WHO, don't we? The United States is willing to thank Africa. We covered this on the show. Thank Africa for standing up and saying no. And Brazil, we're not going to hand over our sovereignty to the World Health Organization to tell us what to do in the event of a pandemic. That they will take consolidation of currency under one world currency, world digital currency. We'll control everything at the World Health Organization. So the United States will cede power to these globalists.
Well, and I'm not a Trump fan. I just want to preface this with that because I am no Trump fan whatsoever. But didn't he want to pull out of the WHO? Like, didn't he want nothing to do with it?
Yeah, and he also didn't want to fund it. Like, why are we funding more of it than anybody else, right? But that didn't happen, right? Instead, we went the opposite direction. And the thing is, like, he can try all he wants, but he's up against a Republican Party that's as cohesive as the Democrats. They're corrupt parties. So he could be a voice kind of floating around in the Republican Party, but he's still dealing with the Mitch McConnells of the world. He's still dealing with the entrenched, these entrenched politicians, and he's still dealing with the deep state, right? So it doesn't matter. You're there for 4 years. It doesn't matter. We know you're here. We're gonna kick you out.
Well, and it's just like anything else. We realize that our presidents really don't have that much power. It's kind of like I saw an article the other day and I thought it was hilarious. Like they said the things that the queen is not allowed to do. And I was like, things she's not allowed to do? She's the queen. Like you actually, so there's these people that are actually the power. It's like the queen can only do so much. And then it's like, no, queen, sorry, we got this. And it's the same with the president. It's like, no, sir, you're out of your element. We got this.
Yeah. Well, famously, I mean, you even had to like look at UFOs and stuff like that, and we can go down a whole rabbit hole on that. But Vermont Senator Patrick Leahy specifically was asking about the secret hangars at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and the UFO and wreckage and UFO materials that are kept in Ohio, right? He was asking a general about this, and the general said, "Don't you ever ask that question again. Don't you ever ask that question again." Like. So you have a general telling a sitting U.S. senator to never ask that question again. He was told you're not on a need-to-know basis. Even Bill Clinton was told that he was not on a need-to-know basis. The president of the United States. There's like multiple levels above the presidency on need-to-know levels because they know he's only there for 4 years or 8 years. That's it. There's way higher levels of need-to-know that the presidency is like in the middle. Isn't that amazing?
So what you're saying is there are things that are unknown, and there's things that are known, and there's unknown things that are unknown, which means that they're not known, that we know there's an unknown.
Exactly. Nothing makes sense.
This city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
Exactly. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.